Yep, loud and clear. I think I started, yeah. Good morning, everyone, or evening. Wait, Tom's just disappeared. Oh no, our MC's disappeared.
Didn't assassinate.
Morning,
Oh no,
Sushi.
he's alive again.
All right, let's get started.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, hang on.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's doing really well. Thank you for joining us for this AMA. As always, we will try to address as many questions as we can that people have already put forward for us. If we don't get time to answer the pre-prepared questions, we will definitely jump into the thread after the AMA and answer them where we can. Other than that, we'll also be taking a little bit of time to answer any of the live questions that we get. I will ask, just to make things a little bit easier and to make sure that we address your questions and that we don't miss them, please wait to ask a question in the live chat, and we'll announce when you can start asking those, and then I'll get ahead of that, and then we can make sure that everyone's question is received and that we can answer it as accurately and as swiftly as possible. All right, let's get stuck into it. Just a quick overall before we get into it. Kildare has been away recently, so welcome back, Kildare. There's a lot of stuff that we need to address so far as current bugs that we are working on, so we're really looking forward to updating you guys with how we've been going with that. Some of the other stuff that we've been working on as well that we haven't been able to announce. Probably the same today. We're going to have to keep a few things secret, but we're really excited about some of the stuff coming up. So I know there's a couple of questions already that people are kind of dedicated towards the content and what we've got coming up. So hopefully we can kind of touch on that. But yeah, for the moment, we'll see what we can do.
All right,
All right, let's get started, guys. The first question is from Erendil. Are there any updates on exciting game features like wormhole, etc. mentioned? Okay, so almost immediately straight into it. We are currently working on some IP collaborations. Now, these are kind of crazy, kind of really well-known IPs. It's really exciting to be able to bring them into the PSS universe. Unfortunately, we can't announce them yet because we're under strict guidance to not announce them for the moment. But most of our development time has been focused on these things. They will include battle passes or battle seasons or however you like to refer to them as well. So this is something that we're trying to add a little bit of core content to the game. I can tease a few things. They will include, things like new collections, more than just one new crew, potentially new missions, a whole bunch of new art assets, and all sorts that we haven't been able to incorporate into those seasons before. Now, when it comes to wormholes and some of the things we've discussed, originally we did say that we had them planned, and then there was a vote by the community to work on the latest ship hull level instead. All I can say is they are being worked on, these features. We are aware that we still need core content and everything to the game. But just for the moment, especially over the past month or so, we've been very focused on the IP collaborations and making sure that we're getting everything up to standard, so we can get that prepared. She's just having a dream at the moment. Sorry about that part, guys. Okay, next part of Erendil's question is, could we have less frequent balancing updates that follow maybe a quarterly schedule so we don't have to constantly check with what has slightly changed? That part's probably good for you, Kildare.
Yeah. So I mean, I've already been trying to make it so that they're more like I get that the understanding that I have is that the balance updates we want to consolidate them into a single update over like a few months or like so. I've been trying to do that, but I mean, there's also unfortunately been circumstances where certain up changes have not been gone down so well with the community, so I may need to do some emergency tweaks here and there. Sometimes these balance updates can be difficult to anticipate in terms of whether or not we will really work. So unfortunately, we have to make do with those exceptions. But overall, I will try to group them together.
Yeah, I think a really good example of that is the work that you put in for the engines. Now, that is something that obviously you made sure wouldn't be immediately upon the tournament start, so you wanted to give players enough time to adjust to that. Is there anything else that you'd like to add on that front?
No, that's a good example. Yeah, the engine one, yeah, has been a bit volatile as was expected during testing. Yeah, so that's why we had to do some last minute patches.
Definitely. And there's always feedback where some people don't want changes coming in, some people do. It is very much the nature where we're trying to improve the game wherever we can. So there will be some times when, there might be a little bit of upset when we change the way things work or one of the existing features that people have been able to rely on for some time. Please bear with us, guys. It was always for the betterment of the game to increase enjoyment and increase the quality. So we do apologize if it does upset anyone, but at the same time, work with us. We'll make sure that we do everything we can to make sure these changes are well received, that they're timed well, and that they don't really interrupt anyone's enjoyment of the game, which is really important. Next question is from Prime Hunter. When will be the next major update? It's been a long time since we had a really big update. So again, it's hard for me to give a date on when we'll be working on what we would call the next major update, just while we work on these IP collaborations. I really wish I could announce what these IPs are. It's some really high quality, high tier stuff that's recognized the world over. So unfortunately, we have been focusing on that, but I think players will see that it's something they can really enjoy, and it is something that I believe once it's released, people will be happier to see sooner rather than some of the other stuff we've got planned. That being said, we are still working on other stuff at the same time, quality of life improvements. We are working and developing things like the wormholes, war battles, just all sorts of stuff like that. Fleet events, quality of life is a big one as well that I already mentioned, but that's something we're going to try and iterate on as we go through. So a good example is players want more access to some of the crew, which have had limited access in the past. So at the same time, while working in collaboration with the IPs that we'll be bringing to the game, have been working on that in the background. I can't give an exact date yet. Wish I could, truly, but just know that we are working as much as we can outside of the IP to get these core updates and major updates involved as well. Um, I understand that there may be some hesitation or concern regarding live ops being our focus at the moment. That definitely isn't the case, but the opportunity we have to really bring some excitement and enjoyment to players through these IP collaborations is something we just can't waste. So it is something that we'll be focusing in the short term. If you're looking for a rough date, I couldn't really provide one, but I would say it's probably going to be at least a month or so of making sure we get this exciting content in before we can really knuckle down and focus on some of the new features that we'll bring to the game. So we definitely hear you and thank you for asking that question. But as soon as we can, we will announce some kind of timeline for players to be expectant of. With how agile things are and how we change our focuses so much as these opportunities come up, it is something that we definitely wouldn't want to say, oh, it's definitely going to happen on this date, and then we'd have to change it, and that would lead to disappointment, and we just don't want to disappoint you guys. So hopefully that gives a little bit of background information without giving a solid date, but we'll do our best to help there, Prime. Next question is from Zuzu D3s. Multiplayer battles when? Ooh, I kind of touched on that before. I hope I didn't give too much away. This is probably a great question for your use in, if that's okay.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. There's different type of multiplayer, I guess, battles experiences. I think what we're leading to is either a live online multiplayer instead of asynchronous, or where one involves multiple ships on one side or both sides, or like a co-op. There's experiments going on with all of those options. We're testing live, so synchronous PvP in PSS2 with like very limited tests, but it's being worked on. It'll probably be like a 6 to 12 months thing before anything is ready to go live in production. So that's
Yeah,
the
I think as far as PSS1 is concerned, we will probably most likely would not move towards a live battle mechanic because due to the system is not designed for it. So very likely in the future we would move towards like a simultaneous battles like between different players, but they're still one-on-one, that kind of thing. I think that's what we'll probably go towards as far as PSS1 is concerned.
Yeah, and the way we've been developing is quite experimental. Like this is a complicated feature. There's a few of them like tournaments, and between PS1 and PS2, we're trying to take learnings and just see what works, and if something sticks, I think we'll try and get it into production. Otherwise, it might just be an experiment. Cool. Let's go to the next question.
Yeah, great answer. Great answer. Next question is from Jim's Cleaning. When is the Crew Trader scheduled for release? When will Ardent be looked at? Aha. So this is one of those things that I was talking about where we are working on them in parallel with some of the exciting new content, and I don't mean to overstate that. I can't. It really is exciting. But we are currently working on that. Players can expect very soon a change to some of the collection balancing. We have heard your issues. It definitely hasn't fallen on deaf ears. We do have a few plans there. Nothing I can announce at the moment, but we'll be addressing key issues like the Ardent collection, the Symphony collection, a couple of concerns with the Void collection. It is very much our goal is to make sure that they are all, a fantastic choice, and the difficulty is choosing between which powerful collection bonus you want, not, oh, there's too powerful and the rest just aren't usable for a whole bunch of ship archetypes. So that is something we will be working on. The Crew ship trader, I would anticipate that within probably the next month or so. It does depend on testing and things like that and how we provide that access. I want to make sure it is, attainable for players as well. There's no point in making a cruise ship that, you still don't have a hope in being able to grind out. So we want to give that option while making it something that players can aspire to and build onto their ship. So I hope that kind of answers that question. Next question is from Captain Synthetic. Any more news on a tournament rework? So we were talking about that this morning even. Zin, is there anything you'd like to add on this?
Yes, a continuous topic on the tournament. Where we're at now is, again, experimenting with some ideas. There's been probably 2 or 3 quite well-constructed ideas from the community. So we're looking at those. The 2 options we are looking at, again, experimenting in PSS2 to see if anything sticks. One is combining the tournament and the league system. So it's kind of like a hybrid League of Legends type of system where there's set durations, and again, it's a trophy or stars based mechanic, and we give a reward at the end of that. But anyone can participate in their tier. Still yet to see if that plays out well. It hasn't been released to anyone for testing, just internal at the moment. Also thought about doing like a tennis style system, but there's a couple of I guess practical issues with setting that up due to time zone differences and everything. So some of the ideas, they just don't really work in real world physics. So we're still experimenting. Nothing in the short term horizon to be released is the answer. Yeah, but we're trying stuff.
But large sweeping changes possible. So that's always a good thing to see. It's something that we've gotten a lot of feedback on over a long duration. So definitely aware of that. That is something that players can probably look forward to, but as Zin said, nothing in the immediate future. Next question is from Sadarek. Add the computer room to the Dove shop. Highly needed at level 13. Completely agree. I will get that sorted for you. Agreed. Done. Signed. Next question. King Hidalgo. When will Pixel Starships 2 be available to download in the Play Store worldwide?
Not for a while. There's a lot of issues with the engine. We're still figuring out quirks and performance and gameplay. It's in limited testing. We do key drops from time to time, so just keep an eye out on the general channel when we need more people to help with the testing. A couple of people have already jumped on with the last wave, and that's been really helpful. But I would say not for the next 3 months, 4 months at least, yeah. And then we might go into like a public early access of some type towards the middle of the year.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for that. Next question is from Mata Buelita 3000. Will we have alternative ways to earn bucks other than the market in the future? 99% of the bucks we earn come from the market. Zin, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, we have a new system in the works. So we got a offer wall type of system being set up. That's pending, I think, some work from Kildare, and we'll see how that works as an alternative, I guess, to the ad blimp. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Bit of a hint there, guys. I think there's something that you guys can read into.
Something like filling a survey or something. Yeah, one of those ones.
Yeah, cool. A little extra activity to be able to do while you're waiting. That's great.
And that's
I'm one of those guys that just sits on the market waiting to see if I can, snipe something or jump in there and make a really good deal. But that's only when we've run out of stuff to do. And I think we're getting to the stage where that'll be difficult to find those blocks. Next question is from Blue Cat Captain. I'm very frustrated with the continuous price rises. In-app purchases have consistently increased for the large packs. Now, this is actually something that's been discussed internally. There was an issue with the pricing set for some of our international players. Zid, is there anything you'd like to comment on regarding that?
Yeah, there's a bit of that. So to clarify, the price hasn't changed. Our native currency is US dollars. We haven't had any price changes. The world is getting pretty crazy. Political events happen which cause currency fluctuations to jump a lot. From time to time, we have to go in and just normalize a currency. So perhaps in certain currencies, there's been a increase in the price in local currency. It's really just reflective of what's happening with the currency market. So our standard pricing, we don't have any plans to change it. It will just be incidental from currency fluctuations.
Just to add to that, I have seen a lot of players encounter issues when they use a VPN or anything like that to make a purchase from another country to save a bit of money. There's been a lot of problems with that money being overcharged or double charged. We are working with those providers, but please be careful if you are going to go that route. It does lead to a lot of potential issues, even on your own account, as it sees different purchases from different locations around the world. We've seen issues with players having their purchase options locked. So just a bit of a warning there. If you do want to go that route, please be very careful and just know that it's a bit of a risk and it may cause issues in the future for you, which we don't want you to experience, because we really appreciate it when people help us out by making a purchase to support development. So we definitely don't want you guys to have to go through any of that nonsense. Next question is from Cassiopeia343. Hey, Cass. Could we have a roadmap/status board? Basically a list of what's in the works and when. Ideally visually and not spoken. So we have talked about this a little bit in the past. The concern we have with how agile our development is and how we will move focuses depending on opportunities as they arise, particularly how sensitive we are to player requests and how players will change their focus depending on what the core issue is at the time. I'm more worried that if we set up a roadmap, it would lead to disappointment rather than excitement or hype. So a good example is just talking about the wormholes. That's already been put off as players requested that we do the next level instead, ship hole level, sorry. And then obviously with this IP collaborations that have come up, it's been shifted around again. So we can definitely look at it. What I can do in the short term is look into some kind of events calendar so players know what events are coming up, potentially even a weekend event so they can get a bit of a plan ahead of time. When it comes to actual development, I'm not too sure we could proceed down that road at the moment. The best it would be is a list of things we intend to work on in the future, and that doesn't really meet what you're saying, Brad. It doesn't really help out with the planning and scheduling of when to expect things being released. So let's continue discussions about that, and I think we can definitely look into doing something. It's just, yeah, I really don't want to go down a road where we end up disappointing people or it looks like we're going back on our promises, which is not what we want at all. It's all a balancing act, realistically, guys. Next question, Destroy for X. Love that name. I hope you're doing well. Thank you. I hope you're doing well too. Simple question. Are you willing to delay PSS2 so it is a complete bug-free game when it releases? Also, come on, Mr. Zin. A raid boss for the whole fleet would be awesome and Fleet Wars would be awesomer. Zin.
Ooh, so two questions there. The second one, the raid boss mission or the fleet participation, I would love to see that. That's something we are working towards. And I guess for PSS2, I think the reality is going to be a similar release to when we launched PSS1, where we're just experimenting, putting it out as early as possible. It's still an indie game, so we want to get the community in. It's not intended to be a launch and then forget type of title, something we're just going to build on. That being said, of course, it's buggy. We delayed already our release schedule a couple of times. So I think when we get to that benchmark where we think it's ready for a public download, as a previous question actually led to, yeah, we'll make it ready. But we're aiming for around sometime mid of the year to make it a early access, yeah, without geo locks and whatnot. Cool.
Awesome. Good answer. Next question's from Anna. Shortly, guys, I'll start asking for questions in the chat. Please hold off for now if you can, just to make sure I don't miss them. Who on the Savvy team actively plays the game? Well, all of us. I want to fight a Savvy fleet in the tournament. We'll definitely stay out of tournaments. We don't want to interrupt flow of players and their rankings and things like that. While we do play the game, and a lot of us do mostly play on alts that aren't connected to the Savvy team, we also have a rule internally where we don't participate in tournament for that reason. It wouldn't be ethical for us to get involved and either make use of the knowledge we have of the game or make use of the time we have to dedicate to the game against other players. So I can say that all of us do play the game. Some less than others, especially as they're focusing on like PSS2 or other projects and things like that. But yeah, it's one of those things, unfortunately. You may be playing with a Savvy team member and not even know it. And I know that's the case for a few of our accounts. So I'll just put that out there for the moment. Next question from, oh goodness, I can't read this. MM something something, a whole bunch of characters. Can the fleet size be reduced to 50? 100 people is a bit bloated, and the competition should be a bit more intense with a smaller number of people. Now, this is something we have been discussing, so I will throw it over to our lead developers in.
Yeah, so we've been debating on this for a while. I think what's gonna happen is we'll do a test run. As a couple of people know, we've got two separate servers in China as well. We'll likely start off adding this reduced fleet size functionality in China. See how that runs. That's looked after by a different publisher, but we work with them every week to just assess what's working, what's not, and if that works, we'll try that out as well in the global server. Yeah.
Wonderful. Glad to hear that. That is quite exciting, to be honest with you guys. It is something that we are looking into. I think it'll have additional benefits as well. We'll see more competition. We'll see an overflow of players actually competing in Deep D. We can probably start considering this for feedback as well. So if you have any additional thoughts that you'd like to add, please make sure to make a feedback post. Especially if you're against it, please let us know why. That way we can further understand your point of view. It's not really helpful if everyone's like yes or no. Just give us a bit of your thoughts. That's what we're interested in. We really want to hear what you guys think. Next question from Natalie Law. Good to see you, Natalie. Is there any focus on server performance? There have been increasing delays on every new interaction. Okay, so mining in particular has been painfully annoying. So yes, Core at the moment is sorting out the modules issue. As I'm sure many of you guys know, the modules are just not in a state we consider acceptable. We've been completely rebuilding the way we approach this. We've also got a couple of fallback plans if this doesn't address the issue. Please expect over the next week that we will be looking at our first implementation of completely resolving this issue. The number one problem for us is players should not be losing modules. Now, we get those recovered, of course, but you shouldn't go anytime while with a lost module. It's not something we really consider acceptable. Server performance itself will be improved at the same time because it's a combination effort of how we read the data, how we compress the data, all sorts of things like that. With mining, I think that's something that's been a stick in the spoke, so to speak, for a long time. So we'll also be dedicating some time to possibly improving that, maybe even changing the entire system and how it works. But please know that this is something that we're not just putting on the back burner. It's taken almost all of our server developers' time over the past couple of weeks, and it is something we'll be looking towards rolling out dates for over the coming days. So quite literally solving that right now, but thank you for raising it. Next question is from Grizzly Bear. There are very good quality of life suggestions. Can we expect any of them to get implemented anytime soon? We kind of mentioned that before. We will be adding them where we can. Kildare, is there anything you'd like to add on that point?
Well, I mean, I discreetly, pick whatever. I from time to time, I've actually if I see there's one suggestion that I can do, I will actually do it, on the spot, kind of thing.
Yes.
I'll add it to the patch. So yes, it's just that any more of the more complicated suggestions or the the more controversial ones, those I will avoid. But yeah, uh, yeah, in general, yeah, we do look at it. It's just that with so many things in the pipeline, it's really not possible to uh, actively work on them, and any of the suggestions as a on a regular basis. So yeah,
I think we've
it's in
made,
thought, yeah, it's
yeah,
trying to
like
fit
what Kyoda
in.
said, I think there's been so many quality of life improvements over the years that we probably forgot like how much the game's improved. But there's, yeah, heaps more we can do. There's been a few that we just haven't had the time to work on, and we'll get to those ones. Yeah.
Yeah, it also doesn't help that a lot of these requires server updates at the same time, and we do have a heavy backlog as you all know, with like a lot
We
of
definitely
We
have a
definitely have a
backlog.
backlog. Look, there's the quality of life feedback thread, the mega thread. Please continue to post in that. Don't think that that's just being forgotten. That's all added to a list that we consider. It is something we are working our way through by priority. But as mentioned, yeah, it's stuff that we kind of have to do over time. There was discussion of doing a purely quality of life update, but I think it's better for players that we also add content at the same time. So please be patient with us. Please note any suggestions you've got in that thread and just know that they're definitely added to the pipeline, at least for consideration. 99% of them are approved for development when we get time. Speaking of time, we're running a little low on time here, so I might ask to extend it by 5 minutes just because we've got so many questions. And if you guys can please start asking any last minute questions into the chat, I'll address those in about 3 minutes and we can go over those for the end of the AMA.
All right,
All right, just proceeding for the moment. Next question is from Teresa88. In our fleet, there were talks of potential defensive and healing crafts being added to the game. Are they true? Kildare, would you like to mention this?
Yes, that's correct. One of the things which is actually in the next major update pipeline is that there will be a defense hangar, and this will mainly consist of crafts that only hover around your ship, and they will do things like they would block shots, they would like repair stuff, other crafts maybe, or like it's not fully confirmed yet, but that's basically the plan. As for the question of whether or not carrier as a strategy, would there be more rooms for and for balancing reasons? Yes, defense hangars is not the only thing that's in the plan. We will eventually add more options for like offensive, like so that carriers as a solo build, as in the non-hybrid carrier, is a feasible build. So that's one of the goals that I'm aiming for. Yeah, so hopefully that answers the question.
That's quite exciting, to be honest with you. That will probably have effect on the meta. All right, I'm going to fast fire a couple of these guys. Captain Synthetic, can you all add unique items back to the 3 in a row PvP reward pool drop? Yes, you can definitely do that. They're already technically there, but there's something wrong with the balancing of it where they're not being selected. It's always choosing the lower one, so I'll get that resolved as soon as this week. Aaron Dill, are there any updates on the tournament experience? Shorter target cooldown. So we did just reduce it from 2 hours to 1 hour. I think even with discussions of having smaller fleet sizes, we'll need to do this in a careful approach. Tournament is important, and it's something that we need to make sure is improved as a core concept before we start making these tweaks. However, Zin, is there anything you'd like to add to this?
Yeah, we try to balance it. It's a bit more challenging because partially of the time zone, we've got to be aware different people jump on at various time of the day. I mean, I think we've had some evidence like the cooldown doesn't actually do anything to prevent this, but we're just taking it in baby steps, and I think it's been an improvement. Anyways, the feedback has been good, so we can keep dropping it until we reach a point where it doesn't really make sense to drop it anymore.
Perfect. Oh, that's really good to hear. I'm sure that'll make people really happy, especially some of the concerns regarding the time of the day that you have to spend tournament. So we'll do everything we can. Next question is from Anna. I really appreciate Mitt taking the time to go through and fix people's missing modules. So do I. I think he's doing a great job. At the same time, he shouldn't have to. We should have this fixed and resolved. This is addressing the symptoms, but will the team be open? Okay, so with the rearm cost, we won't look into that immediately. We need to look at resolving the issue as mentioned before. If you do have any other questions about this, Anna, please reach out to me and I'll see if I can give you any additional information. Cassiopeia 343, there has been a ton of issues with Starbucks and speed up ads. So Kildare is currently looking into this. This is something that we have to work on. We had to work on with our ad manager at the same time, and there does appear to be a core client bug as well. I'll let Kildare weigh in on this.
So, well, the reason why sometimes we have to shut down the ads, particularly for Android, is because I mean they basically have there's some issues with the ads that come in that causes the game to stall or freeze, and that affects our stats on the Play Store, and that's not a good thing. So that's why we occasionally see like yeah, we had to turn that off and stuff like that. There's really not too many things that we can do on our end because this is mainly on the ad provider end. But one of the other things that I mean that could cause this is whether or not, like, you know, on our game, if we are taking up too much resources, then obviously that would be more likely to crash, so or freeze. So this is well, so one of the things that we can do is to try to optimize the game further from this point. But yeah, really, this is not too much we can do just other than communicating the issue with the ad provider. Hopefully that.
Okay, cool. I think players can also expect a bit of an update coming that relatively soon as well. All right, this is the last question I'll be able to ask, guys. So please know that I will jump into any of the pre-prepared questions that we've missed, and I'll jump through the chat questions. So don't forget to just add a question there if you haven't yet, and we'll get through those that we can. Next question is from Armalit. Any comments on Symphony balancing? Symphony's buff and super weapon makes too much of a difference. Furthermore, super weapons gain uneven buffs. Yes, okay, so this is basically furthering just about the collection rebalancing. Yes, it is coming up. I can't comment directly on what we are changing, but as we adjust some of the other collections to be stronger, obviously there is outliers like Ardent that needs improvement and Symphony that needs a bit of a tweak to make sure it's not so extremely powerful in certain cases. It needs to be kind of equal across the board. We'll try and do some kind of announcement soon regarding that, so players can be prepared for that change. We also don't want to upset anyone that's spent time collecting or investing into a collection to kind of bring it into their strat and then incorporate it to their approach to PvP. So please keep an eye out for that. We will definitely be announcing what we can as soon as possible. All right, guys. Again, we will respond to any of the pre-prepared questions we've missed in the thread shortly after this. Other than that, I'm going to move to the chat questions. Can the poker? This is from Evil Eye 650. Can the poker room be buffed, or could you hear us out on why it should be? $8 a day is 3 ads. It takes up room and it costs money. It's not really worth it. Zim, what do you think about that?
I think a couple of the answers in the comments have already answered this. Like if you do the math, it's a pretty good deal. Yeah. I think that's the answer, isn't it?
Okay, no, that's fair enough. As the worst, this is from Rufus60. Please tell us why I would spend money on the game if I can just cheat bucks and only pay after getting caught. Okay, so to understand that there was a recent issue. Thirdly, if you chose to spend money on the game, we really appreciate it. It does support development. The concern that players cheat and then don't see any negative effects of that is completely false. I'll be very, very open about this, very transparent. The recent issue where players noticed one player in particular getting unbanned, we have a strict system where everyone gets one warning, and then any proceeds they've made from anything that we consider in breach of the terms of use or the EULA is completely removed from their account. So while it may seem like, oh, we've just let everyone off with a warning, so that means basically everyone gets one chance to cheat, that isn't the case at all. They actually lose everything and more from any ill-gotten gains they would have done. It means that they're on a close watch list where they basically always monitored and added to that review list that we take care of on a weekly, if not daily basis. Players that are found to be breaching the terms of use or in any way negatively affecting the fair competitive environment are banned outright. There is cases where if a player has refused or caused an improper chargeback, they may get access to their account once they address that chargeback because that's an issue with their payment provider, not an issue with their approach to the game. So with this recent issue, our players concerned about this one player, and I know who you're talking about, lost all of their accounts, all of their proceeds from these issues, from using these tools. They're on a strict warning on their last account. They still lost everything and they're quite upset about that. But unfortunately, we do have to stick to our rules. We will continue to be very, very strict on anyone that breaks the EULA. It's really important to us that we provide a fair field here for all players. Please don't think that we're just like, oh, let them off with the easiest slap on the wrist. That's not the case at all. It does take a fair bit of our time, but there's nothing more important to us than spending that time to make sure that the fair play environment is upheld. If you do ever have any concerns regarding a player, please let us know. You can create a support ticket here on Discord or reach out to me directly. All of these are investigated. It does take a bit of time as well, but again, it is extremely important. If you do have any concerns regarding this, or if you feel that we haven't approached the situations appropriately, please let me know as well, and we'll be able to talk that out. There are cases where I can't give away personal information, but I'll definitely let you know where we stand and how we process these things. There is no case that I've come across while being here that we have not acted and have not been strict and swift with our action. So if you do see someone who has been caught still on the game, they've lost everything, they've come out in a net negative, and they're someone that we're paying very close attention to. So something definitely to know that we're on top of. Next question. This is from Crusher Sky. Over my 6 years of playing, scratchies have dropped from around 60 Starbucks now being 20. Is a subscription buff being considered to make it as valuable as it used to be? We did make some changes to subscriptions recently. I do believe they are quite valuable now. I know there's an issue with the ship repair one that probably will, once addressed, improve it. But we will also look into some of the valuations put on scratchies, if you agree. Okay, cool. Okay, so this is probably the last one we'll have time for, guys. Thank you for asking some of the questions in the chat for players. This is from Silver12. Will PSS2 also allow multiple accounts per person, as they are undoubtedly the best Bucks sources?
We are putting a Savvy ID login system, so you can have multiple accounts, but it's all going to be tracked and tied to a Google login or like a single sign-on. So that's more intended for quality of life, to help make it easier for people to switch accounts without having different email addresses. That being said, we know botting and this kind of like bugs farming is an issue, so we'll try and change the design to avoid that from becoming a thing.
Yeah, we don't want players, or I imagine you guys don't want players to feel like they have to create multiple accounts to get the most out of it. It should be optionable from the single account. All right, guys, we're going to have to call it there. Sorry for going over a little over time, but I thought it was really important we address some of the concerns. One more thing I'd like to add. I've seen a couple of people asking when the next update is due. Again, we will be focusing on these IP collaborations. Really excited to announce those. It shouldn't be too much longer. Unfortunately, we can't spill them yet. All I can say is they're really well known, and I think players will be surprised that we were able to score this kind of content into PSS. I think it's going to be something that everyone's really enjoying and really, really happy to see. As far as the next major update, probably over the next couple of months, we'll be adding, small parts of updates alongside these usual core content updates to see what we can do. As Vincent mentioned as well, there is changes coming to crafts, there's changes coming to existing rooms, there's new options in rooms coming, there's new collections coming, guys, there's collection rebalances coming, new ways to get crew. Everything will be added in a short time alongside quality of life updates. So while we can't dedicate ourselves to a specific time, please don't think that nothing's happening and there's nothing going to be coming. If anything, I think over the next month or so, we'll be able to start unveiling just how much content we've got coming out. So thank you, Zin. Thank you, Kildare, for being able to join us. Thank you for all of the players for joining us today. Again, if you have any issues or any questions, just reach out to us or post in the thread, and I'll answer everything I can after this. Thanks, guys. I hope everyone has a great day.